Okay, what we have here is a stained glass piece. I'm going to demonstrate soldering a couple of the seams on it. This is just basic soldering technique. It's been a long time since I've done a great deal of it, so I'm not the best in the world. This is a soldering paste or flux. This is a Nokorode brand. If you leave it sitting on the copper for a long time, it doesn't damage it. It comes in paste form. It liquefies when the solder hits. I'm just going to coat the copper in this area and on this area here, and then we're going to take our iron and solder a couple of seams here. Have not done the other side of the glass yet. Once I get all the seams on this side soldered, it gets flipped over and the other side gets done. The solder I'm using is a heavy gauge. This is 60-40, meaning it's 60% lead and 40% tin. Melts at a lower temperature than 50-50 solder does. The iron is hot. I've got it over here out of the picture, so I clean the tip and I start soldering. I've got the pieces tacked together where they won't move, and now it takes a little while. We'll get things heated up. You just feed solder into the tip. This is not an ideal iron for what I'm doing. The tip is too small and the iron does not develop heat, but my good irons, well, they used to be good. They failed on me. They over 30 years old, and they had internal rheostats because you could adjust the temperature control, but you can't do that anymore. But this is basically what you do. You just keep feeding solder in, and you drag the solder. You want a nice even bead without a lot of lumps and starts and stops. Sometimes you have to work your way back and forth to smooth it out and build up the bead to a nice, you can see how it gets kind of rough, but as you move along, you get a nice bead built up. The lead solder will only bond to the copper. It won't stick to the glass. And the other thing you have to consider is staying in one place for too long. A couple of things can happen. One's worse than the other. You either melt through and the solder runs out the bottom of the seam, or the worst part is you can overheat and crack the glass. That's as far as I've got done there. I don't want to do this portion here because these are going to be separated and there'll be lead came along this channel here. I'll show that in a later video. I'm going to come back to smooth that joint out in a little bit, let that part cool, and we'll work on this part down here. I don't want to get up to the edge along here because this is going to be a lead came seam here, and I'll put the came on later, join it, and then the came gets cemented. There's a cement and a whiting compound that fills the joint. Like I say, this iron does not heat as fast as I would like, so you have to kind of go back. Let's see if we can get. See if you can keep moving, you get a nice even seam without a lot of wrinkles or start and stop spots in it. But as I said, you can't stay in one place for any length of time because you risk melting through or cracking the glass. But this gives you a general idea. To continually feed the solder. The flux will allow it to bond. And if you need to go back and build up the seam a little bit, if you feed too fast, you don't get Getting to about the end of this. And then we'll take the camera and pan along and show areas that I've already done some soldering on. There. And that's about as smooth as I can get it. I'm not sure about building up. Okay. And we'll go over here and look at the moon. And you can see where I've already soldered the face on the moon. Once you get the solder joints done, you start seeing a little clarity in the picture. It all starts falling back into place. You can see I have areas of the sun tacked together where I've got to come in and do that. I try to tack all the large pieces together. They tend to trap the smaller pieces so they don't shift. And then when you go to soldering them, there's not as much work involved. You don't have to hold parts down quite so much. But that, in a nutshell, or about 7 minutes, is a quick primer on soldering. And hopefully, when it gets finished, it'll look something like that.